me the streets up there? There we go. All right. We got about 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes worth of fuel left. Yeah. Oh, and if you just joined us online, we've been following a pursuit probably for about 20 minutes now. That silver Kia you see right now on Eastern Avenue headed northbound up into the Bell Gardens area. Now, behind that Kia, there's 7 or 8 patrol cars. They were on the freeway at one point in time. They backed off quite a bit, but you'll see them on the left side of your screen, although actually it looks like they may have backed off altogether. We have an LA County Sheriff's helicopter overhead, and it appears maybe now they have gone into a surveillance mode. It's unclear exactly what the suspect is wanted for. We've seen the suspect go through a couple of red lights, but always stop for those red lights, and now making a right turn onto Slauson. It appears the suspect is aware that the patrol cars backed off, and at this point in time, they just have the helicopter overhead. We do understand they did call for a unit with a spike strip. At these speeds, that may be possible. The suspect stays in the same lane for long enough to the patrol car, an officer, to throw out a spike strip real quickly and maybe get a flat. Also, if they have patrol cars right behind them, the speeds the suspect is driving at, as long as traffic conditions worked, they could do a pit maneuver, but we have not seen that yet. We are seeing speeds now about 46, 47 miles an hour, maybe a little bit over the speed limit, but we haven't seen any real erratic driving. We've seen a couple of close calls on the freeway, basically because the suspect had a lot of indecision. We also seen the suspect move around a lot inside the vehicle, look back at officers, look down under the seat like he was trying to find something. So certainly somewhat chaotic as far as what's going on inside the vehicle. Great shot there. You see the LA County Sheriff's helicopter overhead, and they have gone to a surveillance mode. So at this point in time, they're making radio calls. All the officers in the area know that this pursuit is underway. They know what direction the suspect is headed. They have the helicopter overhead, and I guess they've decided there's no sense to be right behind him. If he does get out, make a run for it, they can have officers on him quickly to take him into custody. And we're in an industrial area, so that's got a good news too. You know, I don't know if he stopped there, we'll see him get in position. No, he continued on because we're not seeing the suspect vehicle in a residential area where you may have kids out on their bicycles or out running around and playing. So that's good as far as the conditions are concerned, and the speeds aren't too high. So that's a good indicator as well. And the suspect stops at some of these red lights. That's also a good indicator. So many of these pursuits get so dangerous when the suspect decides to get extremely erratic and runs red lights, goes into oncoming traffic, and we haven't quite seen that yet. We don't know what the suspect's wanted for. That could be one of the reasons they backed off. It's hard to say at this point in time. But they're in surveillance mode. We are in the Southgate area on Slauson, headed eastbound, coming up on Garfield. And the air unit overhead right now, it looks like they're just going to keep an eye on this guy until he finally comes to a stop. Then they'll call in the other patrol cars, the other officers, and try and take him into custody. It's very, very seldom a suspect can actually get away, and especially with conditions like this. The weather is fine. We shouldn't have any restrictions, at least in this area, as far as being able to follow him. And that holds true as well for the LA helicopter. We did have clouds and fog down in Long Beach and along the shoreline by LAX, but the weather out here in the Southgate area is fine. Speed limit southbound on Slauson, helicopter overhead, and all the other patrol cars have backed off. Well, it's hard to say for certain. There could be several reasons why they haven't done the pit maneuver yet. Maybe the officers right behind them are not trained in that. Secondly, when you do the pit maneuver, you do have to be very careful. You see how the patrol car is behind them there? When you're doing the pit maneuver, you have to be very careful. You have to have an officer that's trained in it, and you also have to make certain that when that vehicle spins out, it's not going to hit another vehicle or possibly hurt someone on the shoulder. So there are a lot of conditions that have to really be perfect for them to do that. And then also it's just a matter of how badly they want to take this suspect into custody. But I do believe if we see the suspect to continue to drive like this, they may do the pit maneuver. We did have a call go out to say they want someone trained in the pit maneuver to get on line here or get behind them. And they also have talked about a spike strip. So the speeds are favorable for the pit maneuver. As soon as that vehicle makes a turn at 30 miles an hour, that's a speed at which they can do it. And they're so effective, we may see that here in a little bit. Yeah, it's really hard. We don't have the angle right now to really be able to tell what he's doing inside there. But we do know now it's a stolen vehicle. We believe out of Compton. We just crossed under the 5 freeway. So, we're coming up into the Pico Rivera area, a part of San Gabriel Valley. If he continues on Slauson, we'd head out through Pico Rivera, even all the way out to the 605. But we do know now, Irene, the vehicle comes back as a stolen. And then you can see all the patrol cars behind. And they are way behind at this point in time. They haven't decided to get right up next to this Kia. But at some point, what we've been hearing is they may try the pit maneuver. And if they get up, so it's hard to say. Somebody's watching this, a supervisor with the LAPD, it's the county sheriff's department now, and they're trying to decide exactly how to handle this. Just as they get a good visual, they get a good description of the vehicle, as they already have, and sometimes they back off altogether. I don't think they'll do that in this situation, but they could continue to just do this in surveillance mode until the suspect finally decides to, make a run for it or head someplace and get out of the vehicle. North. Yeah. Yeah, and that certainly gets the attention of the officers when they're behind him, and he's trying to look for something under the seat. They're just trying to gauge exactly what they're dealing with this guy. A stolen vehicle. I mean, they're going to treat this individual as if he's armed. It did appear to be a man. We're pretty certain about that. We couldn't tell if there were more people inside the vehicle or not. But it's interesting that the patrol cars really backed off. They're right behind him. I can see them at my screen. They're too far away for us to go to them. We don't want to lose the suspect vehicle, but if you went back a quarter mile, there's like 12 patrol cars waiting to swarm in on this. They are making calls in front. This is a good time where you might be able to do a pit maneuver, or if you can get an officer out there that he doesn't see, to throw out a spike strip. But when they throw out that spike strip, they got to get it back real quick. The vehicle, they don't want to cause flats on other vehicles, right? So that's really a concern of theirs when they do something like this. But the suspect, for the most part, obeying the speed laws, or the laws, if you could say, and driving at a rather slow rate of speed. We don't see him trying to drive excessively to get away. But, Irene, we don't know if there's more people in the back of that vehicle. There could be. I mean, they just have to really take all those things into consideration in pursuits like this. That's very possible. He just turned on to Mercury off of Paramount. And this could possibly be a dead end, and it'll get a little dicey if that's the case, and he turns around and comes back at officers. It'll be interesting to see how quickly they come up behind him. We're in an industrial area right now. You don't have to go too far, though, and you'll end up in a residential area. But this particular street, I think, may end at this location. And if he turns right here, I think he's turning into a business, and I don't think there's another way out either. If you can open up real quick and sort of get a gauge on where the suspect could go. But we don't see the patrol cars right behind him. But you see the sheriff's helicopter overhead. I would expect the patrol cars are going to be in here in a moment. And unfortunately, it looks like that area right there sort of opened up to a Lowe's parking lot. It looked like on the backside, I didn't think it was going to open up there, but now the suspect was not into a dead end. It appears now he's been able to get out into the parking lot. And, you know, that's a different situation altogether here. Fortunately, the suspect is driving slow. You know, he's not driving erratically, because you get into a parking lot like this and people are getting out of their vehicles and they're walking. It can be extremely dangerous. It appears they've really backed off. We can come out of the shot. I've lost them out the view of the helicopter. It looks like they just have the their helicopter, the LA County Sheriff's helicopter overhead. Looks like it went through that intersection. That was Washington there, and we're on a surface street that's going to put them into a residential area. So as you mentioned, there's no rhyme or reason to this. We'll never be able to figure out why he's doing what he's doing. That's for certain. A lot of times we see these pursuits double back in areas where they've been before. But that's not the case, and this guy's even slowing down for the speed bump. So we're not seeing a pursuit that is extremely dangerous, so we love that, because some of these things, you know, they just get your heart pounding because you know how deadly it can be when somebody's trying to get away from the police. But right now we're into a residential area. That takes on a little bit for a different dynamic as well. You know, this time of the morning, a little after 7, maybe some of the kids are getting out running around, and you hate to see that, but at least the suspect's traveling at a low rate of speed. Can you open up kind of wide for me for a moment, Marcel? And just trying to get an idea. See, I don't see any patrol cars here. You know, and it's interesting, Irene, you know, you'll be in one area with one agency, and they'll be right on the back of the vehicle, and then all of a sudden you'll get into another area. Looks like another supervisor takes over, and they're like, nah, just let them go, back off. And that's the tactic they're using now. Yeah, it was probably about 30 minutes ago we got the original call. It was stolen out of Compton. We didn't know originally it was stolen, but we did know there was a pursuit on the 105 freeway, on the 710, and then getting off the 710 at Imperial Highway, getting on to Firestone. We were on that for a bit on the surface streets, sometimes at high rate of speed, and now into an industrial area. And I think what they are looking at right now is that they don't have to have patrol cars behind this guy. He's not traveling at a high rate of speed. It did not appear to be a danger to the public. I mean, this is very slow, all completely at the stop signs before making a turn. And I think they believe right better to just watch him from the air than patrol cars behind him, especially now that we're in this residential. So he is traveling. He is going to try and get out of the vehicle. We back up. Yeah, I think, I really think they're just content to follow this thing along the way it is right now. It appears to me, when I look out the window, it was interesting. They were right behind them, but then they went to surveillance. But yet, if you look back a quarter mile, there was 12 patrol cars all lined up. And now when I looked out the window, I can't find a patrol car. I can't find one anywhere. So even looking for miles in either direction, I'm probably missing them if they're there. But just to give you an idea, the difference in the posture, northbound on Paramount, headed up, towards the Montebello area, I believe. To go further north, you'd be up into El Monte. The Paramount will take you all the way up to the 60 freeway. And pretty much, I think, Irene, hey, look, this guy really does not appear to be a danger to anyone. Why get right behind him? Why force him to drive fast? Why even try a pit maneuver? They are dangerous. I mean, if the car flips around and overturns or slams into another car or, hits somebody on the sidewalk, those things are all possible. They try to take that into consideration. But I believe the strategy right now is to just say, hey, he's driving the speed limit. We got a helicopter overhead. He's not endangering the public. Let's just watch him, and we'll get this guy whenever he comes to a stop. Yeah, over the last 5 to 6 years, all the time. Go back 10 years or 20, never, okay? You go back 20, 25 years ago, and somebody in a stolen vehicle is trying to get away from police, they're going to stop them. But, a lot of things have changed over the years as far as, they were more willing to take a risk to the public to get some individuals into custody if they stole the vehicle. Now they are not. I'm certain that lawsuits have something to do with that, and liability has a lot to do with that. But I understand the strategy, and personally I think it's a good one at this point in time. I think everything would change if the suspect would start to drive extremely quickly. And then we don't know what they know. We know it's stolen or it came back stolen, but I've covered a lot of stories where you get the initial information and it somehow changes a little bit. Stolen from where? Was it a relative that said this individual stole it? They may know who this person is. They may be talking to someone who's talking to this person. They may even be talking to this individual. So we're limited with our information, but from what I can tell, what they're doing seems to be a great strategy. And as far as what I was mentioning, it's just the world we live in today versus 5 years ago versus 15 versus 20 versus 30. I don't tell you how long I've been here, but it has changed a lot. And this is the world we live in. This is the strategy they're taking. And from our perspective up here in the helicopter, it seems like a good one. Okay, we're getting low on fuel. I didn't see it much more than, say, 65 miles an hour, just a little bit. It hit some congestion, so it was kind of slow. And on the freeway, tried to maneuver into the center divider and into the carpool lane and around traffic, and then opened up maybe 65 miles an hour once the freeway did. So we've never seen extremely high speeds. We've never seen erratic driving. We've never seen any close calls. Thank you. All right, we don't want to go to El Monte, so we want to go to Hawthorne. Oh, they're out. Make Burbank. Let's go to Burbank.